For today's market update, I'm going to go into depth and talk about what's happening in the real estate markets, not only in our county, but in our state and in our country. So I've got some notes because I couldn't memorize all these statistics, so you'll be seeing me looking down a little bit during this talk. All right, so I want to focus on 3 topics today, and that is home appreciation, inventory and prices in Clatsop County, and the most burning question that myself and my team gets every day, and the question is, are we in a housing bubble? I'm going to answer that for you. So let's take a walk back in history and look at what has happened historically in our country for home price appreciation. In our country, historically speaking, home prices have appreciated at 4% per year over time. In 2020, we saw a 6% on average increase on home prices in our country. In 2021, it spiked to a 17% on average home price appreciation in our country. But wait, it gets better. In Oregon, we saw an 18% price increase overall. And in Clatsop County, in our county on the North Oregon coast, in 2021, we saw a 24% appreciation on homes here in our market, which is just incredible. So check out this map. It's going to show you all of the states in our country, and you'll note that not one state in our country saw depreciation in 2021. Everybody saw positive appreciation. So why are home prices appreciating? It's largely just due to simple supply and demand. We have more buyers wanting to buy than we have homes to sell them. It's also the low interest rates that's driving people to want to buy versus rent. Another statistic that I find really interesting is so far this year in our county, all of the homes that have sold for more than list price sold on average for 6% more than the listing price. So look at it this way. If you're in the market to buy a home and you get it at the list price, consider that a discount. All right, so let's look at a scenario. If you're buying a $500,000 house and you get into a multiple offer situation, you may have to spend a little bit more to get that property. And that would be approximately, if we look at that 6%, that'd be $30,000 more. So if it's listed for $500,000, you may have to pay $530,000 in order to get it. Again, that's just an average. Talk to your real estate professional to come up with a strategy that's going to work if you're in a multiple offer situation. Okay, so we heard that data. Let's segue into number 2. And that is inventory and pricing in our local market here on the North Oregon coast. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about our market as a whole. Typically in these market updates, I'll break it down by zip code, but I want to talk holistically on what's happening right here. The median price in Clatsop County in 2001 was $392,000. Fast forward to today, and I only am looking at that first quarter data for 2022. The median price is $490,000. So you can see we're continuing to appreciate here on the North Oregon coast. Today on the market, we only have 72 active listings. And just to put that into perspective, before the pandemic, at this same time, we typically had about 300 homes on the market. So there it is again, that sneaky supply and demand, really, really low inventory, and that's creating a demand, in turn, ticking the prices up. So with only 72 active listings, that's only a 1-month supply of inventory. A balanced market in any market would be 6 to 7 months of supply. And what I mean by months of inventory is the current amount of buyers, if that cadence continued, and at the rate of sale, if the houses were selling at the same rate, we could sell out of everything in 1 month. All right, let's move on to the next topic. And I'm going to end it today with what is the most burning question we all get as real estate agents in any market, I'll venture to say, and that is, are we currently in a housing bubble? With prices on the rise, a lot of people believe that this bubble is about to pop. And it's natural to think that, especially if you survived 2007 to 2010. We all remember those years. So So to answer this question simply, my opinion is no, we are not in a housing bubble. And here's why, and here's the data that I'm going to share with you to support my opinion. The bottom line is that those worries are going to persist. People are going to believe that we're in a housing bubble because we've seen significant amounts of appreciation. But here's the fact. The National Association of Realtors recently did a study, and they said that 77% of all consumers surveyed believe that we're in a housing bubble. Let's walk back through a little bit of data from 2007 to 2010. That inventory at that time and that market was significantly different from the market that we're in today. So the market when we had that crash was different than today's market due to inventory. In those years, we were in a buyer's market. We had an oversupply of homes. So what that did is prices continued to crash. Going into the pandemic, we were only at 3 months of inventory. So heading into this market, it was a seller's market. Simply put, there just are not enough houses to go around, and inventory then was much different than today. Existing home sales today are at a record high. Let's see. And let me show you the reason why that is. This graph shows right here that volume of home loans in billions given out back during that crash had a credit score of 620 or less. So way more loans were issued to people that likely just could not afford them, and that led to that crash. Today, there are stricter standards and more conservative lending practices. Now let's talk about equity, and you've heard me say this stat before if you watched my market updates. 40% of all homes in the United States are owned without a mortgage, meaning they're owned free and clear. That's a lot of equity here in our country. If a home is owned free and clear, there's no way that a bank can foreclose on it. The only way that it could become a distressed property is if someone doesn't pay their property taxes, and that's a very, very slim amount of folks across the U.S., but especially here in Clatsop County. Let's also talk about forbearance. In this pandemic, there were about, 5 million homes that went into forbearance, meaning they had to ask their banker to come up with a plan to help them keep the house during the pandemic when they couldn't make their payments. As of today, 80% of those folks who went into forbearance, those 5 million people, have been able to strike a deal with their bank and come out of forbearance. So we don't have that shadow inventory. We don't have that big bulk of homes that are going to be coming on that are being foreclosed or short sale. It's just not going to happen. So for that reason, I don't believe that we're in this bubble and it's going to pop. We're not going to see a whole bunch of distressed properties coming on the market. Let's see. From 2017 to 2019, there were approximately 300,000 homes per year that were foreclosed on. Fast forward to 2020 to 2021, there were only 129,000 homes that were foreclosed on, and in 2021, only 30,000. So you can see the difference there. So for all of those reasons described above, I don't believe we're in a housing bubble. Let's see here. Lastly, let's talk about the crystal ball, if there is one. I can't predict the future, but I do follow economists that do make these smart predictions. And out of the 7 heavy hitters who are making these predictions, every single one of them believes that home prices are going to continue to appreciate in 2022. And we're already seeing that after finishing the first quarter. Those 7 heavy hitters who are predicting what's going to happen in the real estate market, they predict that we're going to be at a 6% appreciation in 2022. I believe in Clatsop County on the North Coast, we're going to double that. We're going to be in the 10 to 12% appreciation this year. And what's already happened so far this year has indicated that that's going to happen. So if you're a home buyer and you're waiting for the market to crash or you're waiting for prices to deflate, it's probably not going to happen based on this data that we have today. So think about that. If you're on the sidelines and you're waiting to buy because prices you think are going to drop, it's probably going to be the opposite. Those prices are going to continue to escalate. So get into the market today if that's what you think you want to do. So let's just do a quick recap. Home prices are on the rise. Inventory remains low, and the average sales price in our market is $490,000. And the data shows that we are not heading towards a market crash. I hope you find this information helpful.